Welcome, Lumineers and fans of the happiest card game on Earth. Sorry it's been a little while since the last of these. I'm trying to get a couple a week out. But these came just at the end of the convention season for us. For those of you who don't know, I'm actually a manager at a local game store, and we also do all of the conventions around Southern Ontario selling our wares. And we had a big couple this last week for the end of the summer. So it's been crazy busy. I'm back home now. I got myself a nice cup of tea, and we're going to take a look at the second in the series of 7 cards that we're going to be doing a bit of a deep dive into, and that is Captain Hook, Forceful Duelist. First of all, I want to let you all know that I actually think this is my favourite art of all of the cards that was revealed. Firstly, it's just a great drawing, it's just incredibly well put together. Marcel Berger's done a great job of it, but I also think it tells us, I think it fits really well with the idea that we're able to summon these creatures, these glimmers as they're calling them, from the pages of these magical books using ink. This is the sort of narrative that we've been told, because it's clearly Captain Hook, but it's a different version of Captain Hook, and that's kind of what I want to focus on in this video, is the idea that this is a sort of an alternate reality version of him. Obviously there are some other things that are interesting on this card. He's very cheap to play. He's a 1 cost. Again, we still unfortunately don't know what this cost is, but it's a 1 cost 1/2 that has Challenger +2. When challenging, this character gets +2 to his attack stat. So he becomes a 3/2 on attacking. Again, we don't know the grand mechanics of this game, but basing it on similar sort of style games, a 3/2 for 1 is insane. So it seems like a probably relatively well-powered card. Interesting that Challenger there isn't in the red text that we've seen on some other cards, such as Adoring Fans on Stitch, which suggests that it's an evergreen keyword, a sort of keyword that we'll see on multiple cards and on probably multiple sets going forward. Evasive being the other one that we've seen a few times now. This is just Challenger, but then perhaps the number will change. So we could see Challenger +1, Challenger +3, maybe even higher, but Challenger +2, and we'll learn eventually that just means that on the aggression, on the attacking side, you get plus that number to the attack. What you might find is in many sets in the future that the wording there after the brackets when challenging this character gets +2 attack, that just stops being there. If you, again, referencing back to Magic, because that's kind of the stuff I know, very often you would have a card say Menace, open brackets, this creature must be blocked by at least 2 others, or something to those extents, close brackets, and now those brackets have just gone. The card will just say Menace, and it is up to you to know what that means, or at least somebody at the table to know what that means. Can make it a little tricky for new players getting into the game once it's established, because a lot of these keywords, just assume a little bit of pre-knowledge before the game starts. I think still it's relatively standard in these kind of games, and it's probably what we'll see here. So eventually it'll just be Challenger +2. What that does mean is that we can end up with more complicated design spaces within cards, because half the text there doesn't need to be used up on reminder text, and instead just can be more stuff. So we might see Challenger +2, evasive, tap this card to do ... and you'll actually get more mechanics in the cards as that real state frees up from the removal of reminder text. But yeah, the main thing I wanted to talk about here is this idea of this character being Dreamborn, and how that's perhaps referenced in the art. Every card we've seen so far is born somehow. We have Dreamborn, we have Storyborn, and we have Floodborn. And for the most part, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that the Storyborn cards have art that is relatively traditional from how we know them, or traditional from the subject matter that they are pulled from. I've just had to bring these up on another screen so I can just double check. But Cruella de Vil, Storyborn, very sort of classic Cruella de Vil looking art there. Elsa being Dreamborn, has a floating book, has an outfit we've not seen her wearing before, so it is a little bit different. We also have Maleficent, Storyborn, again, just, that it is incredible art, but could just be a screenshot from the movie almost, that sort of big tearing dragon at the end of the film there. Mickey Mouse being Dreamborn, again, just a different look of it. Brave Little, obviously being based on Brave Little Tailor, and we'll talk about that more when we look at the Mickey Mouse card in full. But, you know, standing there in that outfit that we've not seen before, giant pair of scissors, you know, just standing proud, just not an image that we've seen before. Whereas Robin Hood's Storyborn classic artwork, you know, just Robin with his bow and arrow, that's kind of what he looks like. And then Stitch being Floodborn being the odd one, we'll talk about that in a moment. But what I think these may be leaning towards is that Storyborn cards are more traditionally pulled from the original subject matter that they're from. So, you know, perhaps more sort of one-for-one versions of them. Dreamborn is this almost this sort of like mirrorverse kind of sort of alternate reality, Kingdom Hearts style. You know, this is something that Disney have been doing a lot for the last few years now, this sort of you know, alternate timelines of their characters, and I think that's maybe what we're seeing here with Dreamborn. Here, this Captain Hook looks fantastic, but you know, Captain Hook, he hasn't got a hook, he has a blade, like a hooked blade, I suppose, but still a blade on his arm. I don't recall that. I mean, it's been a long time since I watched Robin Hood, arguably, but I don't recall that in the movie at all. That's pretty badass. You know, Tinkerbell in the lantern, or a fairy at least in the lantern. I don't recall that happening. You know, he's quite a dark and foreboding version of Captain Hook, who, you know, arguably even in the movie where he's the villain, is often played as comic relief. He's a sort of bumbling fool of a villain, whereas here, like, this Captain Hook means business, and I think perhaps that's what Dreamborn is that option for them to vary the look and the style of the card, and I think that may well lean into the fact that this is Captain Hook Forceful Duelist, whereas we may well see also Captain Hook bumbling crocophobe, and that would be a Storyborn version of Captain Hook, perhaps, and it gives us more chances to see various versions of the same character on different cards. Now, obviously, the amount of characters that they can pull from Disney is practically endless, but the idea of only ever seeing one Mickey Mouse, for instance, or only ever seeing one of any card, really, is definitely going to be a hindrance for them, and I think this is the way they're dealing with that, is giving us that sort of subtitle, the Forceful Duelist, and the idea that it's Dreamborn, meaning we can see multiple versions of these characters in the future. I think that's probably what we're seeing there. So what does Floodborn mean then with Stitch? Again, the only thing I can think is that with Stitch's ability to be played on top of another Stitch, akin to Pokemon's Evolving feature or Magic's Mutate feature, I think Floodborn may well be perhaps a specific type of card that is there as a power-up for an original version. So let's say that, for instance, Captain Hook here has idiotic captain or whatever, and that's the Storyborn version of him. We also have the Dreamborn version of him, Forceful Duelist, and then we also see a Floodborn version of him, and it's ship navigator, and he's standing proud on his ship with his wheel, and it's a more powerful version that can go on top either the Storyborn or the Dreamborn. Again, I'm really spitballing here. This is all wild speculation, of course, but personally, I think that's what we're going to see there. Floodborn. The only other shred of the only other thing that makes this sound even slightly plausible is that the term flooding is used in printing to say that ink completely covers something. So if you're completely painting something a single color in the process of traditional inking, that's known as flooding. So again, Floodborn, the idea that this is covered, the card covers another card. I don't know if there's anything to go from there, but that's maybe what I think we're seeing here with Dreamborn, especially Storyborn and Dreamborn. That really seems to line up with the art there. Storyborn, a more traditional version of the character. Dreamborn, this almost slightly twisted, this sort of multiple version kind of thing is, I think, what we're seeing there with these. But otherwise, I think this is a good card. Again, it's super tricky to tell at this point, but in any other game, something I can play on turn 1 that can then swing out for 3 damage, like when the defense of creatures seems to be around sort of 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, that seems strong to me, you know, forceful duelist. I think he is. Again, lots of keywords there other than Dreamborn: villain, pirate, captain. I totally expect that we're going to see tribal elements to this game. That being that characters with these particular keywords will work well together. You might see another pirate that says all other pirates get +1 to their attack, or there might be a card that says tap and go and find another villain in your deck and put it into the battlefield, all that kind of thing. I would be amazed if we don't see that sort of tribal gameplay with all of these cards having so many sort of tribal keywords there on that middle of the card. Still, really exciting stuff. Can't wait to see more, of course. Trying to think of anything else we've heard this week. It's not been a newsworthy week, really. The only thing was there was an article where the lead developer did say pretty much guaranteed we will never see mechanically individual cards available as promos, meaning there'll never be a specific card that's only available at Disneyland or is only available as prizing in a tournament or what have you. All of those sort of hard to reach, you know, real sort of chase cards are all going to be alternate art versions of cards that you can usually find in the regular set. Obviously, within the set, I'm sure there's going to be rarities and there's going to be cards that are more difficult to get. That's the business model of these games, right? You're going to be buying multiple packs to try and get the really strong cards from the set. Of course, you know, this goes back to before there was even a game involved and it was just trading cards, you know, baseball cards and things like that. There was always going to be rarer ones that you will buy more packs for, but the idea is that buying packs is the only thing you have to do, or buying singles on the second-hand market is the only thing you have to do to receive cards that are playable in any deck, and then the chase cards, the prizing, the promos, all of those will just be nicer looking versions of them, special foil treatments, extended arts, alternate arts, that kind of thing. But as far as actually playing the game goes, all of the cards that you want to be able to get are going to be available just, you know, from the shelf in your local game store or in your local Target. So that's really great to hear. Kind of expected, honestly. I think it's a bit of a nail in the coffin for any game that doesn't do it this way. But, you know, this is obviously in some part made by Disney. You know, they've obviously got a big say in how this thing works, and they're obviously sort of very profit focused with them being such a big corporate entity. So it is nice just to hear that from the game developers, the actual people making this game, that they're not sort of bowing to any kind of pressure that they may or may not have received from Disney, and that they're making it so that as far as the game is concerned, everyone's going to be able to play it, and that's really great to hear. So that was nice to hear. Other than that, we're just going to keep working our way through these cards. I think we're going to take a look at Maleficent next, but I'm just kind of working through them in a random order as soon as I kind of think of something that I want to talk about with them. Thank you so much for watching. 200 subscribers now, double since the last video, which is insane. Welcome to every single one of you. I love you all to bits. Until the next one, remember, a flower that blooms in adversity is the most rare and beautiful of them all. My name is John T. Sparrow for the Illumineers. I'll see you in the next one.